Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Johnson Wala, and it's quite a pleasure to welcome you to today's workshop. Today, we are discussing about summer heat adaptation strategies, and it promises to be a great topic, discussions from different presenters, and we'll be having contribution from other participants as well. So without wasting much of the time, let me welcome Mr. Andrew Oko to introduce himself and kick off the presentation. Welcome, Mr. Andrew.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great time and evening to have you here, and the privilege to be in this forum for this presentation. Just as the topic suggests, the heat stress, summer heat stress adaptation strategies. We are going to be discussing on what heat stress is, what are the parameters that can lead to heat stress, how our body functions, how we can prevent heat stress, and all of that is embedded in this discussion. So I thank you for having me, and thank you all for being present. So I will start with a story with personal experience. See, this heat stress, sometimes people don't really, they take it for granted, not until you have experience or you see somebody who is under attack from heat stress. Especially in this part of the world, in the GCC country, we are so much concerned about the heat stress, even the government. But beyond that, it's a global phenomenon because everyone in the workplace, irrespective of the region you are, can be exposed to heat stress due to the work activities, the environmental factor, the climate, and the enclosure in which you are working, the humidity, and all of that. So just like my story, when I came to this country, I was engaged in a minor job. Then I was not into health and safety. So we are working in an underground garage, and it was painting jobs, and ventilation was not that enough. So not knowing what heat stress is, I begin to feel funny after being exhausted of the job. I begin to feel funny, like I am losing it. I don't have my stamina. I am not focusing on the job anymore. I am breathless, the kind of a confused state. So I don't know what was happening to me. And I was on a scaffold. Actually, I was doing a painting job. So not understanding what was happening to me, I came down. I was trying to look for water to drink. In that process of looking for water to drink, I don't even have the mind to tell somebody I'm feeling this funny, I'm feeling that. My speech was blunt. I don't have that concentration. So I was trying to locate where the water is. But at a point, I couldn't move anymore. But I could remember I saw a fan, this ventilation fan. So I just went to the fan area, and that was how I don't even really know what happened to me anymore. I stayed there for a very long time until I begin to gain myself gradually. So when I stood up, I was wondering, what is this? So I got the water, I drank, and the whole of my day was just like that. I was not really feeling too well all through the work that I couldn't work anymore. So when I begin to understand what the heat stress is, I remember my experience. So when I became a safety officer, working as safety officer, I pay attention to this heat-related issue. So that is my story. So that is why in the GCC, in the Gulf country, and even in Qatar here, we have legislation, and the government is seriously concerned about the heat stress. We all know the regulations and how they are enforcing it and how it's been enforced across different project sites. So what is heat stress? Heat stress is a kind of phenomenon that can happen to somebody who is exposed to a rigorous work activity under a humid environment, under a hot environment. This can happen, heat stress can be triggered when the body temperature cannot absorb the heat from the environment, because our body function, our body anatomy function in like, it has a regulator like the refrigerator. There's a limit which our body can cool, absorbing heat from the environment. For instance, we have a body temperature, a core body temperature of 37.2 to 37.6 Celsius, which is equivalent to 98 degrees Celsius. So if there is excess heat from the atmosphere, maybe due to exposure to radiant heat, to hot environment, to humid environment, to work activities that generate a lot of heat, the body intensifies sweating in essence, in the process to cool down your body temperature. There are two ways. First of all, when your body temperature is becoming intense, becoming high beyond the limit, your brain will trigger the blood vessel to flow through your skin. And when this blood flow through your skin, is trying to cool your body temperature before it circulates around your body again. So, and when this continues to increase, there's this sweat evaporation through perspiration. And when this perspiration increases, you sweat more. And when you sweat more, all this trying to like cool your body system down. And the heat from the environment is also getting intensified. What happened? Then you begin to experience the heat-related symptoms. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So you begin to experience the heat-related symptoms, like you're feeling dizzy, you're feeling headache, just like my story. And if it persists, if precautions are not taken on time, this can result to heat exhaustion, loss of excess fluid from the body. When you lost excess fluid and lost a lot of salt, electrolyte from your body, because this electrolyte contain minerals that are in our body in the form of magnesium and potassium. And when the body loses these minerals, the body will not be able to step down the cooling system. In this aspect, the body temperature has risen beyond the core body temperature. At this stage, it will be very dangerous. It's not the stage of heat exhaustion. From heat exhaustion will lead to heat stroke. So all these are, can I share my screen? Disabled.
I can see you. You can share
Okay.
your screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Host disabled participant screen sharing. Check from your side, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me check. No. Just
Yeah,
give
we
me
can
a
see your
moment.
screen now.
But I have to check from my desktop. Uh, I have to get it from my desktop.
Yeah, you can navigate from there.
I'm trying to get my desktop now. So, I mean, I'm coming, trying to get my desktop. How do I get to my desktop? I'm not finding it.
Your desktop is open. I can see it there.
You can see my desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see those stuff.
Okay. Okay, it's opening. Okay. So the heat stress occur when the body means of controlling its internal temperature start to fail, as well as air temperature. Factors such as work rate, humidity, and clothing worn while working may lead to heat stress. So I will not be just focusing on this my presentation alone. I will be digressing, so bear with me. So just as I was explaining, the human body core temperature and how heat stress occurs. From my explanation, I believe it is clear. So when the body can no longer absorb the excess heat from the environment, it tends to activate the blood flow. And when the blood also circulates to the surface of the skin, it returns back to your body, just like the car engine. For instance, we all use the car, we know the function of the coolant. The coolant, when your engine is started, it tends to flow through the engine and return back through to the coolant circulate through the engine to in an attempt to cool the temperature of the car, then return back to the engine. This is how our body functions as well. So, but due to excessive workload and exposure to radiant heat from the sun, from hot surfaces, and all that, the body also can intensify sweating, which is perspiration. And when this perspiration is ongoing, you lost excess fluid from the body. When you lost excess fluid from the body, the core temperature will then increase from the normal, which is 37.2 to 37.6 Celsius, equivalent to 98 or 99 Fahrenheit. And when this happens, the body ability to control the cooling system will no longer sustain. That will result to the person experiencing heat-related symptoms like being dizzy, being feeling headache, feeling heat cramp, muscle cramp, pulses, and the like. And if measures are not taken on time, this will further increase above 40 to 45, and in the case of Qatar, sometimes we can get up to 50 degree, right? 50 degrees Celsius and the like. And when that happens, this time it has led to heat exhaustion and eventually heat stroke. So sometimes we may be confused when we talk about heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and other. There are stages from the mild symptom to the more serious symptoms, which eventually can lead to the heat stroke. Heat stroke is the most dangerous aspect of the heat related attacks that people experience. So excessive workload under exposure to radiant heat from the sun or equipment generating heat, humid environment, hot air movement can lead to the brain activating more blood flow to the skin surface or increase sweating, evaporation in attempt to cooling or regulating the body temperature. And if the body core temperature exceeds its threshold, heat stress, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke might occur. Where does heat stress occur? Like we are most familiar with our work environment here in Qatar and also the GCC, like in the construction. We are aware that now we are entering the summer season, which is very hot and humid. And from indications and from reports, this year is going to be hotter. So this presentation is timely and very important to educate us, for us to be more acquainted with what we already know, and for us to continue to practice the good preventive measures to control heat-related illnesses or attacks that our workers can be exposed to. Not just our workers, everyone, even including we as health and safety professionals. So, example of workplaces where people might suffer from heat stress due to hot environment created by the process or restricted spaces are glass and rubber manufacturing plants, compressed air tunnels, open and indoor construction work with poor ventilation, power plant, foundries, and smelting operations, brick filtering, brick fairing and ceramics plants, boiler rugs, bakeries and catering, kitchens, laundries. All these are places where heat stress can occur, not just restricted to the construction alone. So, risk factor contributing to heat stress. Heat stress is normally brought about by range or combination of factors involving interaction of the activities, environment, and the employee. So this interaction can cause heat stress relating to the activities we are involved in, the work environment, and the individual worker or employee factor. For instance, frequency of exposure, duration of exposure, physicality of work, inadequate rest periods, that's all about tax factor. Environmental factors can be high air temperatures, low air movement, high relative humidity, radiant heat from hot objects such as machinery, employee factors, incomplete acclimatization, dehydration, excessive or inappropriate clothing, medical condition, individual susceptibility, overweight, poor physical condition. Okay, we talk about the high temperatures and low air movement. We are all conversant with the environment that we work with. Sometimes the environment can be very humid, where you have less air and hot environment. In this situation, which we are all conversant with, is like, it's really like hair. If measures are not really taken, even before you even experience the heat stress, you can imagine how you feel in the job site. So it is very paramount that we take into cognizance these factors, because we are like advocates for workers. Sometimes these workers cannot speak for themselves while they are at work, because they have to obey the foreman, the engineer, and all that. We as health and safety professionals, we have to be very mindful of the environment that we work in, the task, and we have to monitor these workers to make sure that everything that is needed to be provided at the workplace is provided. As from experience, it has happened several times when people are working in an enclosed area and the environment is humid and hot. There's no enough ventilation and the workers are being forced to work. You as safety professional, you have to weigh in. You have to stand your ground, even if it's to stop the job, because life is more important than the job. You have to stop. If you don't intervene, then we allow these people work like that. I believe every one of us are testimony to that. If we don't speak up, these guys are going to continue working like that, even when they don't like it. Many of them, they don't know they are right. They cannot complain. They are scared because somebody's going to cost their overtime and all that. So we must stand our ground to say, hey, look, you have to provide the ventilation, you have to provide the fan, you have to provide the water, you have to provide the OROS and all that. If not, I'm going to stop this job. There's no compromise when it comes to that, because life is at stake. Am I communicating?
Yes, yes.
So I will just move forward. The risk factor for heat illness, symptoms range from mild to serious, and identifying and understanding these symptoms early is vital in keeping healthy in the heat environment. Risk factors for heat illness: high temperature and humidity, direct sun exposure, no breeze or wind, heavy physical labor, no recent exposure to hot workplace, which is acclimatization. This acclimatization is very important. There are some situations where you have workers, new workers that are brought from their country for the first time, they are coming to the GCC. Many of them, I had an experience where a worker just came from India or Bangladesh, and when the first week of him coming to the site, he was agitating to go back home. Nobody was listening to him. He complained to the HRO. They were not listening. Unfortunately, they did not speak with safety. But we were amazed that very early in the morning, when work resumed, before they start the TBT, this guy went somewhere to hang himself. He wanted to take his life. Why? Because he is not acclimatized to the system, the hot environment. It's new. But luckily and fortunate for everyone, one of his colleagues who was dodging to attend TBT saw him. That was the saving grace. If not, the young man would have just died like that. It was after that that the HRO, they listened to him. So when the matter came to safety, we told him, okay, stay in the safety office and be helping safety for documentation. So gradually, we make him acclimatize to the system. So he does not go to site for 1 week or 2 weeks. But if they have minor job in the cool time, they allow him do some housekeeping. So gradually he was acclimatized and he starts job, and that was how that problem was solved. So we all need to be acclimatized to new environments. So, and this can only be done with the help of people, with the help of supervisors, safety engineers, and all that. So training is very important to take care of that. So other factors can be inappropriate clothing, loss of appetite and feeling sick, excessive sweating and pale clammy skin, cramps in arms. All these are related factors and symptoms of heat-related illness. So, some of the symptoms: headache, dizziness, fainting, irritability, confusion, taste, nausea, or vomiting. Then these are heat exhaustion. Therefore, symptoms of heat stroke can this confusion, unable to think clearly, pass out, collapse, seizure, stop sweating, convulsion, fast breath rate, possible death. So it is a matter of importance to make sure that we take note of all this, and we have to watch our workers closely. We have to make sure that they are aware on how to take care of themselves. We have to employ the buddy system. Everybody needs to watch out for each other at the workplace. And even you as the safety professional, you are not exempted. We are even, we are trying to save people. We have to save ourselves as well, because we are in it together. Yeah. Okay, seen this before. So, should I still go on? Or my time is, you're muted, Mr. Justin.
Your time is fast spent. Just summarize.
Okay. I will summarize by how do we prevent the effect of heat stress? How do we prevent the effect of heat stress? This not prevention. Okay, we have to take precaution. The precaution we need to take, we have to establish a heat stress prevention program. We need to carry out risk assessment. We need to assess the risk of our workplace, the possibility of heat stress occurring, what are the timing, the exposure, the activities that can generate, that can lead to heat stress, or equipment, hot equipment, or equipment generating heat. All this we need to put in our risk assessment, and the training that we need to give to the workers, the PPE, how they have to be acclimatized. All these have to be embedded in our risk assessment, and we need to discuss with people and encourage people to take fluid, to replace lost fluid. Just like in the case of losing salt and electrolytes, or the magnesium in your body, or the potassium, you need to take drink. I need to advise the workers not to take alcohol or caffeine during the summertime, because alcohol can reduce or increase your body temperature. So, and also medication. We need to make sure that these workers are not taking medication while at work. So the rest shelter, frequent break, work rotation, provision of cooling water, enough water, and advising workers to eat, not eat too heavy, at the light foods during a work period, and all that. We need to put all that into practice. So, and again, let me not forget, we need to also make sure that we adopt the heat index, the measure, like monitoring the humid, the temperature with our thermometer, or the equipment that we can use to measure the heat movement, the urine chart. We need to check it. We are conversant with the urine chart, the color coding. When it is red, we know it is dangerous. When it is not too dark, our urine not too dark, we need to monitor. We need to teach these workers for them to monitor all that, to know when they are dehydrated and when they need to take more water. And the flagging system, I talk about the flagging system, how we use the flag to control. When it is red, we need to stop work. When it is yellow, we need to advise workers to take more fluid and all that. So in summary, we have talked about how we can control this heat related issues, how we can control it by the flagging system. When it is green, which the heat index is between 27 to 31 degrees Celsius, it is normal, which is green flag. 32 to 38 is yellow. When it is 39 to 53, this is danger zone. We need to take more preventive measure. When 54 above, all work must stop. So also take note of the regulations. The regulations and the summer working time is starting from 1st of June to 15th September. Between the hours of 10 a.m. work stop to resume 3:30 p.m. So all these are measures to make sure that we are safe and the workplace is safe for everyone. That is that from me, and I believe we learn one or two things from this presentation. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, Mr. Andrew. That was a very great presentation. We appreciate your efforts, and we appreciate the time you have put to prepare yourself and to give us this enlightenment. Heat stress is actually not new. For those that have been in the GCC region for a very long time, or for those that work in industries where they use hot equipment, or those that work inside tunnels where the ventilation is low. So you find out that heat stress is a regular occurrence. So what we need to do is to imbibe the culture of preventing the heat-related illness. So we don't wait until the illness happens or when somebody falls under heat stress before we start taking action. Okay, now the one thing I want to talk about before I bring Mr. Stephen is Mr. Andrew mentioned about acclimatization. This is one of the systems that I've found that we are not implementing in our workplaces. I don't know about most other places, but in most of the places I've worked so far, we find it difficult to implement this acclimatization strategy. What that simply means is when a worker returns from a vacation, or maybe when a worker is when the worker just joined the company newly, there is a level of exposure that he's supposed to get as the day passes by. For example, if the person came back from his home country during the hot weather, during the summer season, he's not supposed to be exposed to 10 hours work on the first day. What this acclimatization strategy means is that you expose the worker to the sun gradually. As his body temperature, as his body system improves or gets adjusted, then you increase the time of exposure. What this simply means is that if he resumed the work on the first day, you can expose him to the sun for just 2 hours. Okay, now the next day you expose him to like 3 hours. The next day you increase to 5 hours. The next day you increase to 7 hours. Then the next day you increase to 8 hours. So you expose the worker gradually. You don't just expose the worker 10 hours on the first day of resumption during the summer season. So this is what is known as an acclimatization strategy. This is very, very important. And if we learn this and we start implementing it in our workplace, a lot of things are going to change, because we find out that most of the incidents or most of the heat stress related incidents are those affect those that just came back, or those that just came to the region, or those that are just getting familiar with the environment, those that are not used to the environment. So this acclimatization strategy will gradually expose him, gradually adjust his body system to the weather and to the environmental temperature. So this is what we need to start implementing, or what we need to start talking about. We need to start involving our management to let them know that this acclimatization strategy needs to be put in place. When somebody comes back from vacation, he's not supposed to be exposed for a long hour into the sun. He's supposed to take gradual process so that he will get adjusted, his body system gets adjusted from the relaxed mood to the summer season and to the environment. So with this, there is a reduced chances of getting heat stressed. Okay, so this is what I have. Let me bring up Mr. Stephen so that he will contribute.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. It was just like you are speaking and taking little of my time, because I was just about to start by emphasizing on this acclimatization, because just like you said, I've really found out that most companies, or most employer, they are not being focused on this. But then I think this responsibility as well lies with us as an health and safety practitioner, because most of our principal duty is to give advice. I believe most of the employer do not know this based on knowledge factor. Okay, so in my own advice, it is our responsibility and duty to go back to our respective organization where we work and try to see how we can introduce and implement this acclimatization process, because you really said it all. You really made the explanation exactly how I want to put it. But in buttering more point into it is that one thing about the acclimatization is for me, in terms of battling or adapting to the heat stress condition, in the world generally, is that natural state which the body, because acclimatization is a natural or physiological state which the body we have to undergo, in order to adapt to that temperature factor, in order to balance, and match up. So the way it works is that this thing is not very expensive to implement. According to research, okay, it is found out that within a space of 2 weeks, 14 days, the body system, can adapt, gradually, just like as Mr. Johnson has said. What it simply means is that the worker needs to be exposed in a gradual process. It will not cost anything because if on a good day, normally we work 8 hours, and these workers are being exposed to high temperature, humidity, and all that. So if you reduce the hours gradually, from maybe, for example, let me just say from 4 hours, this worker is exposed for 1 day. Maybe after 2 days, you increase it to like 5 hours, and so on, like that. So you discover that the body will use its own physiological means, to adapt to the high temperature in order not to come up with like heat stroke and other heat-related illness. Okay, so which is very, very, for me, I see is the key #1 adaptive strategy. So for to go further for other adaptive strategy is that I look at the whole thing that the control measure. What are we supposed to do? We don't need to wait for people to begin to have issues before we begin to fight it. So these are our selling points, which we need to place to any organization we are working on, present to any management. Because most importantly, all those control measures we put in place, I see it as an adaptive strategy. Because if all these things are put in place, you discover that the system, the body, the workers, everybody will adapt to this environmental effects. Okay, so now generally we know what we normally do during this summer. We must ensure that there's a well-ventilated, as in a general ventilated area where workers are working. Okay, like maybe in a restroom, we must ensure that in the rest area is well ventilated, where they can receive cool air, okay, to generally bring the body into a balanced state. So like I said, ventilation is very, very important. It's either you provide it as local or at a general level, because we have this local exhaust ventilation. So it depends on the kind of nature of work and activity. And also the worker need to be exposed to some level of place where they can get natural air and cooling. Like when we talk about ventilation, this could be a mechanical process, maybe supplying air through mechanical process. So, and there are some other places where they can just be exposed to a natural air in order to cool the body system. Okay, and also maybe when we are creating a kind of like especially in the construction site, we have what we call we provide a kind of shade for these workers. We don't just create a shade like that. We need to create a shade whereby it has a kind of reflective shield that can inhibit the radiant heat. Okay, we have to reduce the radiant heat, and it is by making a shade that we can prevent such thing. And also, it's to be advisable for workers to also be using this sunscreen cream. I know for we that are from Africa, we don't care about those things, but I know most people from the Asians and other part of Europe and America, maybe because of the sensitivity of their skin, because of there's not enough melanin, so they react to this direct sunlight on their skin. Okay, so we should provide, at least try to ensure that the shading system is available, because all these things are just a way of engineering control. Because when we employ this control, it's like we are adapting to the effect of the environment, the effect of the temperature that is presented to us at this point in time during this summer. Okay, and another important thing again, we look into this control or adaptive feature is that we need to look at schedule. We have to kind of schedule the kind of tasks, the kind of job we give. So just like the way what Qatar is doing is part of the scheduling, okay, whereby there's a legislation that said, okay, everybody that is working, once it's 10 a.m., all work will stop and work resume by 3:30 p.m. It's a way of scheduling the way people work, which normally people work before from morning till evening. But from the government side, they come in, and from the employer side, we also have to apply one or two things. Okay, so another most important thing again, which goes to the employees itself, yourself, which as an health and safety practitioner, we need to pass this information. We need to encourage them. We need to train them. We need to give them this information. Fluid replacement, because the truth is that during summer, naturally the body lose a lot of fluid. Okay, so it is advisable to have a lot of fluid, because I've seen cases where some people, they will go and start taking soda. All these things contain caffeine, and they might increase the electrolyte, cause some electrolyte imbalance in the body. So, and the truth is that when you have caffeine in your body, it makes you lose a lot of water at the same time. So it is advisable to have this fluid replacement program. You train people, you inform people to have in their system to take a lot of water, which is very, very important. And also work rest cycle. Depending on the nature of work, we can try to have a frequent break in between. Rest is very important. You work maybe after 1 hour, 2 hours, depending on the nature of the site, precisely. But when you talk about construction, outside work, I bet you anybody that works up to 2 hours in the direct sun where the temperature is very high, you know what the effect will be. So there should be a kind of frequent rest cycle. You work 1 hour, 2 hours, you go for rest for like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and so on and so, you do like that. And once you adopt that mechanism, you discover that the body will undergo what we call recovery time, which may require the heat, stress, exposure recovery to complete when the person's physiological state has returned to its pre-exposure condition. Because normally before you have been exposed, your body is at normal level. So when you get exposed, a lot of things changes. So the time you go to rest and get recovery, you discover that the body comes back to its normal physiological state. Okay, so, and also we need to introduce a kind of what we call buddy system. The workers need to watch themselves. They need to be taught about the heat-related the symptoms of the different kind of heat-related illness that can occur. So once they are familiar with all those things, they watch each other, because according to the law, international law, it is our responsibility to also watch other workers. We should be responsible for other worker safety as well. So at that point, we should also try to watch on workers, and there should be also personal monitoring. As an individual, you need to be educated, you need to be informed to have your own personal monitoring, like what Mr. Oko have said. There's a kind of, you check your urine, you get this information about, okay, if I'm about to have heat stroke or dehydration or things like that, you need to know those signs, those symptoms. So once you are having those things, like from his own experience that he has given, you discover that, man, there's a problem. There's really a problem. So from there, you can make some adjustments to your work pattern and all that. So I believe with this few points of mine, I've been able to add 1 or 2 things to what the speaker has previously said. So I believe Mr. Johnson will have 1 or 2 things to also add to this information that has been shared so far. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Stephen. We appreciate your contribution. Please, before I proceed, if you want to add 1 or 2 things in a few minutes, just raise your hand or chat me so that I can give you opportunity to talk. So before then, I will want to add few points. Actually, Mr. Andrew and Mr. Stephen have elaborated on what we are supposed to do as health and safety practitioners. First, our job is to protect lives. And second, our job is also to protect ourselves. What that simply means is we are looking after the workers, but heat stress or heat-related illness will not respect you because you are a health and safety practitioner or because you're a safety officer or you're a safety manager. So it will not respect you if you are not implementing what you're advising others to implement. And it will be a very shameful act if the you fall under that heat stress. If you are affected and an emergency service was called for you because you did not implement what you've been teaching your workers to implement. For example, you've been teaching your workers to drink water after every 5 minutes, but you refuse to implement it, then you fall under heat stress and you are rushed to the hospital. So next time when you talk to them, it will look like you're actually not practicing what you are preaching. So first, we need to implement whatever we are teaching them so that they will learn by example. That is what I'm trying to portray there. For example, if you are teaching the workers to drink water often, so when you are going to sites, you are supposed to go with your water bottle, go with your drinking water bottle. This is to show them that everybody needs to have his water bottle with him. So if you are roaming around the site and you are not having a water bottle during the summer season, you are not leading by example. Not necessarily that you are drinking it, but you are showing them that this is what needs to be done. Everyone needs to have his drinking water bottle with enough insulation and cool water inside it. So we should lead by example. This will help the workers to understand what we are preaching to them. During the 2 bus talk, you said take water every 5 minutes, look at the flags, check your urine while you are urinating. We need to do all that to allow them to learn through observation. So the next thing I want to add to it is we are encouraging the workers to limit the intake of caffeine and coffee, but we are not implementing that on ourselves. As health and safety practitioners, we continue drinking carbonated drinks and coffee in the office, and the workers are seeing it. So they might assume that what you are teaching them or what you have said during the 2 bus talk is irrelevant, okay? And in as much as maybe your environment might be different from where they are working, maybe you are inside the office, you have air conditioner, but they are all outside exposed to the direct sunlight. But they might not understand the difference in the environment. They will only understand that the safety is drinking coffee, is drinking carbonated drink, so it's not a problem. So in summary, what I'm saying is we should lead by example, even though those things are too precious to you, but because you want to teach the workers on the right path to do and the things to avoid, is a good practice if we avoid those things in the workplace, okay? Then the next thing I will need to add is the monitoring, the temperature and the humidity and the heat index monitoring. This, over the years, I've seen that in some workplaces, they do it very right. In other workplaces, they take it like it's just a paperwork. They forge figures, they write things that are not, they just write values without doing the exact monitoring. So what I'm trying to advocate is, as health and safety practitioners, we should improve in our temperature monitoring so that this will give you the actual information of the level of heat at that particular time, or the level of temperature at that particular time, so that you communicate effectively to the workers and let them know that this is what they are supposed to do at this particular time, okay? So we should lead by example. We should take our monitoring, temperature monitoring very, very serious, and we should endeavor to show examples, ignore those things that we want the workers to ignore, okay? Mr. Stephen, I think I saw your hand raised. You can speak.
Sorry, I would like to exit. I have an appointment at the clinic, so I need to rush up. So I'm very sorry. You know how appointment is done in Qatar. So
Yes.
it's not, but I just said I must be part of this session. But I hope by future session I will be fully there to
Okay.
really give a full contribution and my
Yeah.
time.
Thank you very much for your time.
Welcome.
We
Yeah.
really appreciate your contribution.
Mr. Andrew and all participants, please bear with me and have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so if we have someone else that want to add one or two things, just raise your hand in the session or give me a message so that I will call you up. Okay, then the other thing we need to bear in mind is heat stress is very serious. It's a very serious issue, and you must be trained before you can attend to it. And most times, those people that are affected by heat illness, they die by because of poor management or wrong management. So if you don't know what to do, or if you are not conversant with the actions to take, it's better you call emergency than taking the wrong action. For example, trying to force the victim to vomit, or you try to give medication to the heat stress victim, or you try to give, some people will say give sugar so that his sugar level will increase. So what I'm saying in essence is, if you are not fully aware, you don't know what you are supposed to do, the best thing to do is to call emergency and ensure that you keep him in a safe place and call emergency. If you have a site nurse, let the site nurse come immediately and handle it. If you take wrong actions, you are going to kill him faster than the heat stress. That is what I'm trying to say. Do not do the wrong things that will aggravate the situation. Okay, Mr. Kenneth, I see your hand raised up. You can give your contribution.
Yes, what I wanted to ask or contribute is heat stress awareness training. I think it should be part of it, from maybe we can it's necessary to have 3 months or 2 months interval heat stress awareness training where it will be documented in terms of a legal, legal actions. It can be provided to, show that there is a particular training prior to heat stress timing or period, So that is what I want to contribute, because I have not heard about it here. And in my previous project, there's what we do like heat stress awareness training before heat stress timing and during the timing. From time to time, we make training and have a documentation of that. Thank you.
Yes, you are very correct, and thank you for that contribution. The heat stress awareness training is a mandatory aspect of the heat stress management procedure. In some companies, they call it a heat stress management plan. So as part of the heat stress management plan, trainings, awareness, monitoring, these are all part of it. And the training should be conducted by a competent person and with the language that the participant will understand. Like I mentioned in last time when we talked about health and safety induction, it's obvious that if you conduct that training to somebody who does not understand the language you use, you've ended up wasting your time, ended up wasting the management time and the company's time. So when we are conducting this heat stress awareness training, we should endeavor that we are speaking in the language that they understand and use more of pictures and ensure that you engage in site tour after the awareness training. Site tour in the sense that take them to the locations where the cold water drinking is located, especially the new people that are just coming to the site. Take them around. This is where the cold water is located. This is where the rest area is. This is where you get ice. This is this and this is that. Take them around so that, because the person might fall under his stress on the first day of resumption of work because he doesn't know those locations. Maybe he's at the site and he's feeling hot. He doesn't know where to go to take a shelter or to take a cold air. So taking them on a tour during the heat stress awareness campaign will also help to ensure that they understand perfectly what you have done, what you have taught them during the classroom training. Okay, those that are just joining us, you are all welcome. We are talking about strategies on how to prevent heat stress in our workplaces as we gear into the summer season in Gulf regions and particularly in Qatar where we are located. So we should brace up that the summer is coming. First, we should have a mindset adjustment. We are coming from a more comfortable weather and we are entering into the summer. First, we should adjust our mind. We've been here before, and if you take all precautions, all preventive actions, you will not fall into the heat illness. But if you do not take the precautions, if you forget to drink water, if you expose yourself for a long period of time, and you are not taking cognizance of your situations, maybe while urinating, you are not checking your urine color to know if you are dehydrated. So if these are not done, then there is high chances that you will fall into heat stress. But if you are taking these actions and you are enforcing it in your workplace, then the chances of heat stress will be reduced. So that is exactly what we are talking about today. And I appreciate everyone who has been here listening to us. If you missed any of the points or if you joined late, you can watch the first segment of the awareness workshop in our YouTube channels. We recorded it and we are uploading it in the YouTube channel immediately. So if you miss any point, you can watch again and get acquainted with what we have said. Okay. Every week we'll be talking about one topic. Every week on every Thursday by 6 p.m. we'll raise a topic and we'll discuss it here. Okay. So what I want us to do is, we are an advocate of an improved health and safety practice in our workplaces. We should take care of ourselves, safety first, then you take care of your workers, those under your supervision, and ensure that everybody goes home safely. That is the joy of the job. Okay, so if there is no question, and if there is no further comment, we are going to end the session. I don't want to keep us for a very long time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
All
Thank
right.
you all.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very
much.
Thank you, sir.